Welcome to Tanya Outside In. We are doing our summary, our secum of the Tanya. We're holding right now at chapter 16, and maybe we'll be able to get to where we're actually holding, which is chapter 32, if we stay if we stay online and I don't get distracted. Okay, so chapter 16 and 17 is where the Rebbe starts to um, describe the avodah of the Benoni, the long-term avodah of the Benoni, okay, which is about inner transformation. Okay, behavioral perfection by the Benoni is, in a sense, a given. Okay, it's expected of you. In a sense, the Rebbe says, you know, why aren't you doing mitzvahs and why are you doing averas? And you'll be like, I don't know, and he's like, just pull yourself together, stop doing averas, and start doing mitzvahs. What are you? You're some kind of you're retarded, you're handicapped that you can't control your behavior. That's basically like what the Rebbe says. That's chapters 12, 13, 14. He's like, of course you can behave yourself. Stop being ridiculous. Yeah, so that's kind of taken for granted. Right. And remember that good behavior feeds back into the system and helps you identify with being a good person. Remember, there's who you are and what you do. And you don't have to do who you are. L'tov v'l'ra. If you're a good guy, you can sometimes do bad things, and if you're a bad guy, you can sometimes do good things. So the Tanya takes for granted that you're going to behave yourself. That's thought, speech, and action. Now, the Tanya switches gears and starts talking about transforming your inner world. So he's already mentioned about behavioral perfection. Yeah, watching your behavior feeds back into the system and helps you identify um, with being good. And that Gabriel, I'm so distracted by your kid. I'm sorry, man. Thank you. So that starts to feed back in to the system and helps us actually be good. The the other avoider that we should do, which is what the Rebbe talks about now, is the avoider of being misboinen on things that elevate you. Thinking about and meditating on ideas about Hashem and ideas about reality that will bring you up. Okay? Understanding how big God is, how he fills all of the worlds, how the world is just like a single letter. All of creation is just like one letter compared to the one who speaks. How how um how he uses the his his midas, the spheres to emanate reality, the breakdown of the different worlds, the concept of Torah and mitzvahs, whatever. I mean, it's basically all the inyanim of Chabad Hasidus. Yeah, the more you can be, and that's what the Maimorim were. The Rebbe's used to give them the Maimorim. Yeah, the whole point of the Maimorim was to change you, to change your inner world. The more you talk about these ideas, the more you ponder these ideas, the more you you get these ideas clear. That is transforming you, not your behavior, you. So that's what 16 is about. Yeah, and 17 is basically explaining that so 16 and 17 also 16 is talking about if you don't have he goes on what he speaks about what I just said, and then he says that if you don't have the intellectual energy to really raise yourself up. Yeah. Don't worry about it because just the fact that you want to is already worth something. And without getting into the intricacies of it, he talks about lifting the mitzvahs. He talks about the kavanah, the real kavanah behind the mitzvah, which means the motivation for doing the mitzvah. Excuse me. The motivation for doing the mitzvah um, is what we call the kavanah of the mitzvah. Yeah, the way we understand Kavana is how much you're thinking about doing the mitzvah when you're doing the mitzvah, yeah? But the way I understand it from the Alter Rebbe, the concept of the Kavanas a mitzvah is talking about the motivation for the mitzvah. Why do you want to do the mitzvah? And the highest level that he talks about here that's accessible to us is the idea of what's called intellectual love, ava sichlis, which basically means that a love that you have generated through your mind. And like we said many times, look at the political activists on campus, on the college campuses, compared to like is it called fret? What do they call it? The fraternity, not fraternity. Yeah, like fret. Like
The frat.
the frat. What do you call it?
A fraternity or a frat house.
A frat house, a fret house. Frat, whatever.
FRAT.
FRAT. Okay. It's like an anagram. So F R F the frat house people, yeah. Look at the dedication of them compared to the political activists on campus, yeah. You can't compare the kind of energy that the political people have compared to the guys who are just involved in just involved in their tivers and drinking and women and chilling out, yeah. The real energy comes from when you what's the word? When you sit on an idea. And that's a lot of the real like with used to happen if
It's
I
also it's also because they see themselves as doing something righteous. They feel morally that they're
okay,
helping others. That's a
okay.
big difference.
But also, well, I mean,
Just like you said, how much effort you put to making dinner for yourself versus for someone else.
okay, I hear that, but still at the same time, it's still the I it's an intellectual pursuit. The whole thing's bound up with itself. But that's what the Rebbe said. If you don't have the kind of powerful mind that can generate real palpable emotions, then don't worry. Just the fact that you want that. Yeah, you know that it makes sense. You don't have the energy to create those emotions. That's worth quite a lot in itself. That's worth a lot. Okay. Um, and then um, and then the next chapter, which is chapter 17, which leads us into chapter 18, is explaining um, how it's very close, meaning that even even without that, even if you can't do that, meaning you don't even have a conviction that you should be serving Hashem from love, not that you haven't used your mind to generate a palpable emotion, not even that you know that you should have done that, yeah, but you can't actually do it. But even lower than that, you can still be over the Shem on the level of just the latent love that lives inside you. And then the Rebbe kind of brushes over the idea of how a Russia would actually do tshuva, which is kind of a miracle. Um, and and he mentions tshuva like again, just kind of it doesn't really put much into it. There's a whole sefer in Igeres Tshuva is the third sefer of Sefer Tanya, where the Rebbe goes into great detail on what tshuva is. But the way that I've learned from my Rebbe what tshuva is returning to the Avodah Sholem, which means you've got two kinds of tshuva. You've got number one, the tshuva, the most basic, essential tshuva of stop doing the Avera. Yeah, stop it. That's number one. yeah, then the real level of tshuva, the it's still not tshuva ilah, but the real level of tshuva that's accessible to us is returning to Hashem, meaning realizing who you are, who you have betrayed in your bad behavior, and realizing that Ribono Shel Olam deserves a lot more from us. He made us, he created us, he sustains us, etc. And for that, we he is he deserves to be served correctly. And that's real tshuva. Not I'm going to get punished or I should really be, I'm so much better than this. Um, just he deserves more. That means it's a din on him, not a din on me. That's what tshuva's about. That's a very, very important. I've heard very, very few people speak of tshuva in that way. Very
Is
few.
that the famous argument with your wife or hitting your wife example?
Yeah. That is exactly tshuva is
Can you say that again?
what the
The example he just said.
God,
What
see,
is he
don't
referring
say
to?
it with hitting, say with saying something nasty.
I'd rather you say it. I'm asking. I'm kind of like leading on. I'd love to hear it one more time as well.
We've always said that a guy says something nasty to his wife, something really nasty to his wife, yeah, and she runs off crying, and he goes and sits in the bedroom, and he says to himself, "Oy vey, I can't believe what level I've fallen to. I can't believe who I've become. I know I'm better than this. I know I know I could be a better husband. Yeah. I know I could be better. That's not tshuva. I mean, it's a lot better than nothing, maybe, arguably. Um, Real tshuva is my wife deserves so much more than this. I can't believe what she's having to put up with. I can't believe who she's married to. This is terrible. Poor woman. Let's work this out for her. That's real tshuva. That was worth if your person comes to that machshava, it could be argued that it was worth whatever you did. Whatever the person did to get to that machshava, if he gets to the machshava of she deserves more, she deserves better. Why is she having to go through this? Yeah, that's real tshuva. And that means that the relationship deeply moved, deeply moved. It's a really, it's something you can train yourself in. It's something you can, it's not like something that is across the sea from you. It's karov ma'od, as the Rebbe says. Hadavar karov ma'od. Okay. Oh, sorry.
And that will get rid of the behavior also, right?
What?
Do you need two steps, or will that hakara itself get rid of the behavior?
If it's a Vadai, if it's real Hakara,
Father,
yeah.
that's amazing. I mamish experienced that. Exactly what you just said. I mamish experienced it. Baruch Hashem.
For Hashem or for your
But
wife?
I'm Maven Yovan.
Yeah.
But Lamaisa, you still fall after. It's not, you can't, it just the Hakar alone, you still have to constantly mechadzik it to keep
Yeah,
it going. But
that's called
it is a
Dinner
game
Live in
changer.
Olam Hazard. That means thinking about your wife. Again, I told you I dealt with this case. I'm getting so like it's gone on steroids now. The kinds of like everything that I've been learning, that we've been learning together for the past however many years now. Yeah, I've because Hashem's like kicked me into this rabbinic position. I'm getting every day. I'm talking to people about crazy stuff that they're dealing with, and what we have learned, yeah, from Rav Manis, what the Masorah that we have received is so true. It is ridiculous. It's so absolutely on the nose. It feels like not fair. Like these people are coming to me with these crazy problems, and I'm just like, look, I'm not a Navi, I don't have Ruach HaKodesh, but it's poshut like this. And they're like, how comes I didn't know this? Why didn't anyone teach me this? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I've got the same question. It feels terrible. It's horrible for people. Like they've been going through years and years of pain, which might even be irreparable right now. It could be that the damage has been done, and I don't know. I hope not. But it's just like if they'd just known this in the first place, it would have made everything so much easier. It's just so true. It's crazy. And big people, I hear of big people getting involved who don't know these ideas. The concept of face to face. It's already the same idea. Anyway, so Tshuva is coming back to Hashem, not to you. It means Hashem becomes more real and you become a little less real. It's like a seesaw. Okay, chapter 18, 19. Well, chapters 18 to 25 is one big hunk, okay? This is what we call now the short road. But it subdivides into chapters 18, 19, 20, 21, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25, let's say. Let's keep it like that. So chapters 18, 19, 20 to 22, 23 to 25. Okay. This section of Tanya is explaining really the essence of the Nefesh Elokis, the essence of your Jewish soul. In the previous chapters, we've spoken about the structure of the soul, meaning the head of the soul, so to speak, that's called Chabad. The body of the soul, that's called the emotions. The garments of the soul, that's called behavior. Yeah. But we never spoke about the soul of the soul. The soul of the soul, the soul of the neshama, is not created. That's the chelek elokai mimal. And that is what makes you godly. The rest of the neshama, the rest of the structure of the neshama is created, it's kalim. But the actual light of the essence of the soul, which is really what gives you your ultimate characteristics of being Jewish, that is of the creator. Okay, so chapters 18 and 19 start describing to us that, to call it the facet of the soul is not correct. The essence of the soul. Yeah, and he explains the way he explains it to you, the analogy he gives or the, I don't know what you call it, that allows you to really get this is that this is the chapter 18 is where we learn about Mesiras Nefesh. As we know, Jewish Mesiras Nefesh is something specific to Am Yisrael. And it's not because we're better than anyone. No, anyone who's using the words better is already, they're probably not worth listening to. Yeah, no one's better than anyone else. We don't know you don't know who's better. And if you got made in a different way and you have a different place in creation, that doesn't make you better than anyone. It's not like your brain is better than your heart, it's better than your feet. Yeah, your feet do what the feet do, the brain does what the brain does, and the heart does what the heart does. The only way that you would think that the brain is better than the feet is when you're looking at everything split up and compartmentalized. Yeah, that fragmentation is typical of the Russia. Whereas if you're looking at the body as a kumash shlema, as a cohesive whole, yeah, well then what do you mean the head is better than the feet? If you don't have feet, you're not complete. Everything needs to be in place. Yeah, it's a humble person. He doesn't feel better than anyone. It's an interesting thing because you would think obviously a humble person doesn't feel better than anyone because he's humble, yeah? But if you want to go a little bit deeper, what's the difference in a humble person and an arrogant person? Another way of saying humble and arrogant would be saying Russia and Sadiq. What's the difference? What's the ultimate difference in the perspective of a humble person and an arrogant person, of a tzaddik and a Russia? And if you want to get too bishpati, you guys are in Tu Bishvat, aren't you? So we can say it. We spoke. I mentioned this to you, Avril. The Russia is the Rimon is connected the Russia. Yeah. because we say that the Rishayim, the Reikanim, the Rishayim, are Male Mitzvahs Karimon, and the Tzaddikim are called Eshkoilus, yeah, Ish Shakol boy, the mensch that has everything in him. That's the concept of the tzaddik. It says that in the last missions in Sota, in the Mishnayos in Sota. So the tzaddikim are compared to grapes, and the Rishayim are compared to rimonim, yeah, pomegranates. So you learn amazing things from both things. What's the inyan of the pomegranate? The pomegranates and grapes are like opposite fruits. A pomegranate has a hard red cleaver, yeah, it's hard, you know, you can crack if you drop a pomegranate on the floor, it cracks. Yeah, it's not quite like a nut, but it's thicker. It's really like an orla. You can imagine like the Orlus Ava being, you know, had no experience with such a thing. You can imagine that that would be that kind of cleaver of the rimon, yeah, and inside is is hafrada, is fragmentation, total fragmentation, compartmentalization, fragmentation, separation, isolation. That's the inner world of the rimon, yeah. And they live by themselves on the tree. They grow alone. You know why they grow alone? Because when your inner world is fragmented, then your external world is isolated. That's how it is. The grape, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. The grape is a singularity internally. It's completely one. There's very few, an apple is also a bit like that, yeah? But there's very few fruits that don't have any kind of um, reboy inside. All of the citrus fruits, obviously, like we said, apples don't. Yeah, but lots of fruits have some kind of reboy inside. Yeah, but a grape is a unity. Plus, it has a very subtle cleaver. Yeah, they're translucent. It's almost like it doesn't have a cleaver. Yeah, it's like it's you can eat it. In fact, there's no concept of peeling a grape. Yeah, maybe on Pesach, but basically, there's no concept of peeling a grape. There's what other fruit do you know of except for a
And
carrot,
it grows in a colony.
and it grows together with a bunch of other grapes. It goes like that. When a person is fragmented inside, he is alone outside. When a person is whole inside, he is with others outside. That's how it goes. That's the so that's the that we brought into Bishvat Hashem. So the difference, you could say lots of differences, but the difference that we're alluding to here by the Baal Gaiva and the Anov, yeah, by the Rosh and the Tzaddik, is that the inner world of the Tzaddik is completely unified, which means he sees reality as a cohesive whole. Doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that there isn't a brain and there isn't a heart and there aren't feet, but he sees them all in context of the big picture. And as we know, that's why he's called the Ish Koilus, the Isha Kolboy, the cluster of grapes that has everything in it, whereas the Russia, yeah, is called a Yotis, that's why I'm in a cloud. He takes himself out of the big picture and he sees himself separately. So we're not better than anyone. That's what all of that was just to explain. We are created differently and we're a different creation. That's all it is. And that is expressed in our, to call it our ability, it's not really the right way of saying it, is the reality of Jewish Mesiras Nefesh. Jewish self-sacrifice is not available to other to created beings. The reason why the Jew has got access, so to speak, to genuine self-sacrifice is because of the aspect of him or her that is not of creation, which is the essence of the Jewish soul, the essence of the neshama. So the our cousins who came in a couple of years ago now, 2.5 years ago, and killed our brothers and sisters, yeah, they all came in with every single one of them was prepared to die for their cause. There was not one drop of self-sacrifice there. That was not self-sacrifice. That was a human being who had confused his identity with a concept. And therefore he would give up his body to give kiyum to that concept. He mistook himself for whatever his religion told him to mistake himself for. And he decided that the way he could solidify that ideology in the most profound way was to give his life to it. And that is the reason why the Baal HaTanya chooses the secular Jew to explain to you, excuse me, to explain to you what Mesiras Nefesh is. Because if he had chosen a tzaddik, you wouldn't learn what Mesiras Nefesh is. He's just giving. Excuse me. He's given himself up for the same reason why the guys on October 7th gave their life up. That's what you would think. So even though that might not be true, and it wouldn't be true, you wouldn't learn the point. So the Rebbe teaches you by saying, no, the secular Jew who doesn't care about Yiddishkeit, who doesn't even believe in God, he, throughout the ages, Ala Roiv, not every one of them, but Ala Roiv, which proves the point, yeah, he gives up his life. And he might even be marveling at himself as he's giving up his life, saying, Harry, just bow to the idol, you idiot, they're going to kill you. Just bow. And he's like, he's marveling at himself. Why? Because he's giving up his humanity. Whereas the 7th of October, Nick, he's not giving up his humanity at all. It's his humanity that's saying, quick, run, get in there. And if they kill you, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. You hear the difference? By the Jew to prove the point, again, Rabbi Akiva wanted to die al Kiddush Hashem because he was also Makadesh his goof to such a degree. But you don't learn the concept by him. You learn the concept by Harry Klein, yeah, who the Gestapo walk into his shop on Kristallnacht and said, "You Harry Klein?" And he's like, "Yeah." And they said, "Are you Jewish?" And if he said no, he might have gotten away with it. And he said, "Yes, I'm Jewish." And then they do whatever they do to him. That's where you learn what Jewish Mesiras Nefesh is. He really gives up his nefesh. He's not confused his nefesh for something else. He's really giving up his nefesh. And that is what our service, by the end of chapters 20, 25, what he basically says is that is the foundation of our divine service. This is really the essence of these chapters, is the basic way of understanding, which is not wrong, not wrong at all, but the basic way of understanding it is, this is the break glass emergency method of serving God. Is you're about to eat the chafe sandwich, or you're about to miss Kriya Shema, Zman Kriya Shema, and you turn around to yourself and you say, Diamond, you're prepared to give up your life for God, and you turn around and you say, yeah, you're right, yeah, I would. And then you say back to yourself, well, you know that any kind of Avera, whether it's missing a mitzvah's asay or doing a mitzvah's lois asay, that's like idolatry. You realize that, like, conceptually it's the same thing. You're like, yeah. So you know that you would give up your life rather than bow to the idol, like, yeah, well then why on earth are you gonna let Zman Kriya Shema pass you by, or why are you gonna look at that trade thing on the computer? That's ridiculous. If you would give up your life for Avodah Zarah, yeah, to not be Ovid Avodah Zarah, then well, what's the difference between, you know, cutting corners with your in your business, or looking at trade for the computer, or speaking Lashon Hara, etc. Yeah, that's the basic way of understanding chapters 18 to 25. It's like a kind of Kal V'chomer, kind of, it's like a reality check. Are you an idiot? What, you've got no integrity? Are you stupid? Basically, that's what it's saying to you. You stupid that you would give up your life to not serve Avodah Zarah, yeah? But now that it's just enclosed in more, like, you know, innocuous clothing, that you're gonna now do, that's ridiculous. Don't be so stupid. So that's the base understanding, yeah. But the way that I understand it on a much deeper oimek is that your Yiddishkeit is predicated on Jewish Mesiras Nefesh, which means, in simple terms, why do you do Torah and mitzvahs? I'm asking everyone.
It's Hashem's Ratzon. Put
That's
his before ours.
what?
Put his own egg before ours.
That's already that's I mean that's great. That's already intellectualizing the process. The very core, the very core statement of why do we serve God as Jews is
That's what we do.
kacha. Exactly. The same way, the Havdil, when you catch your I've had lots of experience of this, yeah. I've got seven boys, Baruch Hashem, and they're all builders, yeah. Everyone's into building, except for one of them actually. But the you know, you turn around, you catch a kid, he's got his plastic hammer, yeah. And those little plastic toy hammers can do a lot more damage than you might think. And he's got his plastic screwdriver, you know, with the big, you know, the big thick screwdriver thing, yeah. And you walk up to him, you see him in your front room, and he's there on the wall banging away, and he's carved. There's a whole big now chunk of wall missing, a load of dust on the floor, yeah, and he's there with you, he's like completely, you know, in it, yeah, like bang, 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 smashing and scraping away, yeah, and you're standing behind him in shock, just like in your mind, going, "What are you doing to my wall? What are you doing?" And, and he's like so in, and then eventually he turns around and you're just glaring at him and you look at him and you say, "Why are you doing that?" And he looks at you. I've got this face in my mind. I've had this face looked at me so many times. I've got it perfect. Yeah. He just looks at you like this. It's just an absolute blank, nothing expression. Just there's nothing there. That act of destroying the wall was coming from a very, very, very pure place in the child. There was no reason for that act of destruction. It's just, this is who I am. This is what I do. And that is what our Yiddishkeit is predicated on. Now, don't get me wrong, we have to do it for good reasons, yeah, because we have to be Makadish the Seichel. And we have to feel it and want to do it because we're Makadish the Midas, yeah, and then we have to do it, Lamaisa, because we're Makadish the thing. But never forget that all of that is much lower down. Like Rav Manis said to that guy who asked him, "Why should I keep kosher?" And he said, "Because you're Jewish." That is why we do Torah and mitzvahs, because we're Jewish, and that's what Jews do. And Goyim know that. Goyim know that. Goyim tell us that. What? Who was it was telling me? was it you or someone like someone? Yeah, oh, it was one of the guys at G4 telling me that someone came up to them saying that like what you're Jewish, you're meant to be wearing. Oh yeah, Srini Wolfson, yeah, Srini Wolfson told me the story. He wouldn't mind me telling it. I don't think that he's like a film producer, and he got invited to these awards, very prestigious thing with the red carpet and whatever, and the person he was, I can't remember, some kind of famous person said, "Are you going to wear your yarmulke when you walk down the red carpet thing?" And he hadn't thought about that. He wasn't sure. And this woman said to him, "Yeah, well, cool, you're Jewish. You'll wear it. Of course you'll wear it. Yeah." Something like that. It was like, it was because you're Jewish, that's what you do. The rest of the world is very happy with that idea. It's only us that feel uncomfortable with it. But that is what I understand these chapters to be predicated on. That once the Rebbe describes to you what the he describes to you what the essence of the soul is, the mechanics of that. Then he kind of puts that to the side and then goes to the concept of divine unity, of Yichud Hashem, showing you how really the world is just, it's all Hashem. So whatever, if you do a big Avera, a little Avera, yeah, it's all the same thing. You're falling out of reality. Yeah, and then he explains, by chapter 23, explains the connection you have to Hashem when you do Torah and mitzvahs, and the difference between those two connections with Hashem. And then chapter 24 is what actually happens when you do Averas. And then chapter 25 is when he brings the whole thing together and he explains what I've just told you, that really your Yiddishkeit is predicated on this concept of giving up your life for the Ribono Shel Olam for no reason. And that's why he says by Kriya Shema, he mentions Kriya Shema at the end of chapter 25, which is a very important chapter that I never realized it until I started getting clearer on Tanya. Chapter 25 is the culmination of these 7 chapters. And he mentions Kriya Shema, and he basically asks the Kasha, like, when after Hashem had promised us that we would be given Eretz Canaan, yeah? Why then did we have to say Kriya Shema with Mesiras Nefesh? We just got promised that we're going to be given it. So why do we need to now be prepared to give up our life? He just said he's going to give it to us. And that's where the Rebbe drops this bomb and explains that no, in truth, all of Yiddishkeit is predicated on the Mesiras Nefesh. Meaning, why do you serve God? Kacha. Now, once you've got that absolutely crystal clear, now let's work on all the reasons and all the emotions, etc. Yeah? But the first things first is you need to know that in reality, Jews do Torah and mitzvahs. It's only when you step out of reality that Jews don't do Torah and mitzvahs. And I'll quote someone from my shir last night. Was it last night? Yeah, last night, when they said that in the chat, it was fantastic. I just bear with me. This is worth. It won't take very long. 1 minute. Just want to show. Listen to this quote. I can find it quickly, I think. Yeah, listen to this. Simplifying the complicated is complicated. Complicating the simple is simple. Simplifying the complicated is complicated. Complicating the simple is simple. The point is that what we've just explained now is by definition the most simple thing in the world. It just is. How much more simple does it get? It just is. Yeah. But to understand that takes quite a lot of work and complication and and mental gymnastics. That's the point. But this is what our design. We need to remember this always, that our design, our divine, our avodas Hashem is predicated on the fact that Jews serve God. Finished. We serve God. That's what we were created to do. That's what we were created to do in the most profound, obvious way. Everything was created to serve God, but not like the Jew. The Jew was created to serve God and nothing else. Other creations were created to serve God and other things as well, a little bit, kind of. But that's what the Jew is. The Jew is a being that serves God. And that is the reason for Torah mitzvahs, that you're Jewish. That's it. And as I get out there more, I'm very interested to see how that. I've never actually said that to a secular person, but I'm looking forward to saying that to a secular person, because I believe that with my entire heart now, and I feel it with my heart as well, and that it's just the only thing that makes any sense to me. Literally, the only thing that makes any sense to me. Just like wildebeest, yeah, walk north for 2,000 miles. And salmon swim upstream for 500 miles, and halacha yadua she'esav sonis Yaakov, yeah, kiyadua. The Jew serves the Bnei Shalom. That's it. Okay, so that's chapters 20. That's chapters 16 to 25, and then next week, B'ezras Hashem, we'll finish our summary and get back into the text. Okay, Chavrei,
I just want to say one thing, one ha'ara,
yeah, please.
amazing ha'ara, that where do we see this exact example in the Torah of Mesiras Nefesh without any reason?
In a few places. Go on, what are you thinking?
Kriyas Yamsuf. They were Ovdei Avodah Zarah. Halalu Ovdei Avodah Zarah. They mamish were Ovdei Avodah Zarah. And a minute before and a minute after, they say, let's just go back to Mitzrayim. But at that moment, they were willing to jump in and give up everything for no reason, because they didn't even believe.
Yeah. I mean, you see
and,
that,
and that brings, and all this farm says that Mesiras Nefesh brings Nisim, because it's Lamala Matam V'das. It's not El Derech HaTeva.
But the thing is that supples, not what's the word? What's the adjective to supple? Not adjective. The verb. It makes supple. Is that how you say it? Whatever.
Softens.
Softens, yeah, okay, fine. It softens, it refines the goof. When the goof gets trumped, yeah, the sonus of the goof get trumped, yeah, that by definition softens the goof. And that's why the Kriyas Yamsuf, yeah, the Or Chaim says that the waters separated and they should have gone back very slowly. Because the fact that Hashem interrupted the teva of the water meant that the water wouldn't have just come back to being water. It has to go through a process. But there was a nace that it came back quickly to kill the mitzvim. And that's the idea of when there is like I've told you over and over in my chicken tuna story, the chicken sandwich tuna sandwich story, that was the beginning of my entire tshuva process. From there, I mean, I didn't keep Shabbos for another 4 or 5 months after that, but that was the beginning of the whole process. But that is the anyway. Okay, shbizoicha to live als Mesiras Nefesh Rabbeinu Sholem, just because we're Jewish. Okay, my friends. Chazak v'mat shkoyach.
Thank you.
My pleasure.